try to stop it. Just that. Just a dream.
War is a continuation of politics, only by other means. Politics is a continuation of economics by other means. This is our bank. This is our war. And this is our plan of attack.
Banks have become an essential threat to our democracy. So consider this justice.
Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported radio station on the internet. Please help support this station so this battle can continue forward. Revolution Radio! The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Welcome, folks. This is the story behind the story. Dr. A. Truott is out on another mission. It was so good to have him back, but we'll be taking this show over. This is Burdock from the beautiful, beautiful country halfway around the world. Manila, Philippines is where we're broadcasting from. Yeah, we've got some breaking news just now. Susan Collins decided, the senator from Maine, has decided to go ahead and vote Kavanaugh in. We're not going to hit politics too hard. Well, maybe in the second hour we will, but it's really important to talk about this. So effectively, Kavanaugh is going to be, there's very little that can happen that will hinder his nomination. He's in. Now, why is this important? Obviously, it's a Supreme Court Justice of the United States of America, and yeah, that's an incredibly important thing to occur. But a larger thing happened here, and if you didn't see or read anything that was going on in the past month, or especially the past week, wow. This is just insane. It's incredible. If you don't think the deep state, if you didn't think the deep state existed before then, you got to now. I mean, you have to. They took a false narrative and pushed it, and the bluff was called, and unfortunately, it had to come at a lot of expense for a lot of people. Don't think for a second that this woman, Collins, would have voted at all if there was even a scintilla of evidence that these charges against Kavanaugh were true. And you knew this early on last week, because when they finally got the FBI investigation, which is just, it was just, they just wanted to go on and on and on. It wasn't about the facts. They immediately turned the narrative into, oh, well, he's a drunk He's a drunk. So you knew that they lost, but if you look at how this was done, that's what's important to talk about here, is how this happened. And more importantly, okay, I without feeling any guilt, I think that everybody should really open up a real investigation on this Ford woman and the people who paid her. And of course, I think she's close to $1 million now. Last I checked, her GoFundMe was pushing like 750, 800,000. So that was about a week ago. So she's probably got $1 million in the bank. She's not hurting. And she still has that second front door on her house. Maybe she can put a third one in. But wow. Can you possibly imagine something like this? Just a bold-faced lie with. We uncovered a few things this week about this Ford woman. If you're on there, Phil.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there was something about self-hypnosis. There are a few things there. I mean, so that
she wrote a paper at some point about yoga and guided meditation in order to change your perception of the past. And then she had that other friend who had coached people before on polygraph tests, and Kavanaugh's being pushed as anti-abortion. That's why they're afraid of him. And she's made hundreds of thousands of dollars writing about abortion pills. It is just really, it's all circumstantial from what I've seen. But man, there's a mountain circumstantial mountain is just getting taller.
Yeah, there was some weird stuff, and I don't know. I mean, I only took a glance at this one. I think this was yesterday, but it's probably been going around for a while. Some photographs, some different angles of photographs were released during this polygraph. And, how the folks at 8... Yeah, they were saying that, hey, is this really her? Because you know how the folks at 8chan, I mean, when you get a hold of anything, they're going to dig in and,
take nothing for granted. Yeah. Well,
yeah,
absolutely. They said means it's suspect. That means, what is it? Trust but verify. Right. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, some interesting stuff. Anyway, I actually I'm a little bit happy that it was really frustrating that they were going to go ahead and do this for another week. But I think that you've got a lot of ammunition here. I mean, a lot of things happened in this last week and keep in mind that we don't have any of that FBI information, and they rounded up their interviews really quickly. And so apparently we're not able to see that, but trust me, that stuff's going to be leaked pretty soon. And we'll be
privy to that coming next week, and we'll certainly be reporting on it. But why this is important is what's next. I mean, that was pretty low what they did last week. I mean, and the whole thing, really, just the whole month, terrible. But what's next? I mean, how is everyone game? And we're gonna, because this is definitely part of the Me Too movement. And I think that since it officially started, I think it was yesterday was their anniversary of the Me Too movement for 1 year. And somebody had a tally on it. It's like 400 and some odd, mostly men, have been taken down by this movement. So what I wanted to talk about a little bit is, and I know that I know you're really up on this. In fact, you pointed it out very succinctly in a show of I don't know, I think it was a couple months ago, that the Me Too movement doesn't involve kids, doesn't involve children. Don't you think that's a little telling? I mean, why is that?
Like, not only does the Me Too movement, like I said, it leaves the kids behind, but look who it's being led by. a grooming predator and a literal apologist for a child rapist. You know, Rose McGowan, when Victor Salva, who raped little boys and videotaped it for years, and he gets out of prison and decides he's going to make a movie for Disney. Okay, it was one of Disney's subsidiaries, but it's Disney. And, there was a big stink about it. And they asked Rose McGowan in, I can't remember what magazine she's being interviewed for. And they're like, well, what about all this, this about Victor Salva? Oh, I don't really know what all that is, but he's just such a sweetie. So he's a sweet child rapist and child pornographer. Well, that's good to know that the monster is sweet.
Oh, man. No, it's I don't know if, what do we need to do here? I mean, there's just no way around it. I think when you're going to have to fight back at this type of thing. I mean, too many people are becoming victims. We read up in Washington. I think we just did a story on that, or I just pitched it. I think it's being written right now, where there's a group at the University of Washington that's devoted to, just without any evidence at all, accusing men of raping them. Now, why it's so important to put have a website for this and have it associated with a university, instead of just calling the police. Right? I mean, if you're raped, you should be calling the police. You should be going into a hospital and getting a rape kit done so there's evidence, and so that these people aren't out raping more, because it's most of the time rapists don't just do it once. So, so now this has turned into, and then of course this is stemming up out of the Northwest, and in Oregon, you had this Mean Girls crew. Did you see that?
Yes.
Now that's some scary stuff. This poor kid went to juvie. He's been dealing with this for, it sounds like, well over a year.
Nearly had his life. Yeah.
All because this group of girls decided that they didn't like this guy and accused him of rape. And it wasn't just one of them. Every single one of them either corroborated or in turn accused him again. And they just believed everything. And so at the end of the day, and this is the really sad part about this, with especially this Blasey Ford character, who, may have been a rape victim, but she's not doing anyone any favors by falsely accusing in a high-profile case. And these girls certainly aren't doing any rape victims any favors by falsely accusing. So now you're going to have the cry wolf thing, and what's going to happen is that while we used to, really you want to give as much credence as you can, you don't want to pull a Hillary Clinton and just ignore the people that your husband rapes, or persecute
right.
them, or threaten their lives. Step in line. She finishes off the rape, but now you're going to have this element of doubt, and it really messes things up for rape victims. I mean, they're real people, and these are supposed feminists that are running around. I mean, they still have pussy hats in their closets, these people. So, it's all very confusing to me, and I think that these folks aren't giving it a second thought. I mean, it's amazing how little thought is going in to any of this before these people just jumped in and formed mobs. Are you getting the same feeling there, Phil?
Yeah, it's definitely coordinated for sure.
Oh, man. Crazy. Well, and of course we know who's funding a lot of this.
Right.
Among other people, George Soros and people.
American Way, and exactly. All this Media Matters and David Brock and this little network, right? I got a quote for you. This is Emma Sulkowicz in 2015 said, "If we use proof in rape cases, we fall into the patterns of rape deniers. Do you know who Emma Solkowicz is? Remember Mattress Girl? The girl at college who baselessly accused a boy because he wouldn't date her?
Right.
You won't date me? That's fine. I'll say you. Then afterwards, she was like, no, you don't understand. It was performance art. I was trying to raise awareness. I'm in a little forum that's feminist and anti-feminist debate, right? And somebody's talking about now, why is it that rape, people don't get so upset if it's another felony that you're, if you accuse somebody of embezzling, that's because they don't beat up and kill embezzlers in prison.
Yeah. That's a
mean,
death sentence.
Has not had their life completely ruined. If you are a rapist, that's it for you, buddy. Yeah. Like you don't want to be in prison as a sex criminal of any sort.
Now, I hate to say this, but, something is kicking around in the back of my head saying, well, why are they letting this continue? Because, it's obvious this is going to be terrible for anyone running for office with everything that just occurred. I mean, the amount of embarrassing, and when that report comes out, and the people who were marching, the people that were voting against it, the people that, all the people that voted against this guy blindly, and not only that, but jumped in, and some of the quotes are just insane. So you got to wonder. Are they just trying to mix this up because now they need to have confusion around this topic?
Yeah, I found it very telling that as soon as he's cleared, 240 law professors come together and say, okay, fine then. Well, here's our number 2 excuse. He doesn't have judicial temperament because USA Today dug up a picture of him coaching his kids' soccer team or whatever, or volleyball team. I can't recall. All I remember is that picture, and it's like, wait a minute, where did they get that picture? That picture was not. AP didn't go and say, Brett Kavanaugh and the kids, line up. No, they found that somewhere. Somebody sent that to them to use. And then there's these op-eds saying that he shouldn't be allowed around kids. And he's got a 10 and 13-year-old that he's got to explain, well, I know that I've spent my whole life trying to be upright and honest and a good person, and but now I have to explain to you why the world thinks that I'm a sex criminal who shouldn't be around kids.
Yeah, here's the problem, and this is really what I think was going to happen. I think it already started last week because I heard rumblings about it. People were so upset by this, and we're not talking about Trump supporters or Republicans. You're talking about people who have 2 brain cells to rub together and have been witnessing this whole debacle, got really upset, and the gloves are off. And so I hear rumblings about people saying, hey, you know what, we're not going to just investigate the drunks. And Trump did make a reference to somebody who was a senator who had a drinking problem when that came up, a Democrat. But I'm hearing rumblings about, hey, we're going to go on a full pedo hunt, and we'll just line them up and knock them down. And if they want baseless stuff, we'll make sure to accuse people that might have something there that's going to be a lot more than, something scribbled in a yearbook. Okay. And that's some serious stuff.
Speaking of senators with drinking problems, you know what Kavanaugh's mistake is? After that high school party, he didn't leave her for dead in Chappaquiddick.
Yeah, exactly. And then get elected Senate. Yeah.
Right?
Oh, God, notorious.
Should have called the Kennedy, but
the Kennedys were drunks and druggies. My Lord. That's no secret. That's no secret at all. I don't know. Ted Kennedy, my Lord. Wow, he was hammered most of his life. That guy was just... I don't think he remembered half the votes that he cast. I think he had to have somebody next to him to say yay or nay. But that's some pretty crazy stuff that's going on here, and to see this mechanism in action is fascinating, and it goes pretty deep. James O'Keefe sent out some new stuff. By the way, he's being still blocked every time because you can report people. It's very easy to report anyone, and that's of course what this group, this dark state, and this whole all the mindless drones that are following this whole thing. It is a nasty thing to do to somebody's email. You just report them as spam, and you get a bunch of people to report them as spam, and then they go into this filter. And believe me, it's really difficult to get off of this list. And then if you've got people like Spam Hoss, I don't know if you ever heard of that outfit, they're corrupt as they come. Oh yeah, they'll block your entire Class C of IP addresses if you're an email service provider. And so, I mean, I did a lot of email for a while there, and above board, I call all the networks before I do a mass send, and I knew all the guys, and it's all legit email, dual opt-in. It's HP, Microsoft, those guys are clients. And so but you're sending a billion emails. And so this is the thing. When you get on these lists and then you deal with people on top of that, like Spam Hoss, which they just decide that they're the authority. It's kind of like the self-appointed media fact checker people. These people decided they have the authority to decide what's spam, who's a spammer, and who's not. And if they don't like you, or they just want to extort money from you, they'll block your entire IP block. I mean, the whole deal. Like, I've had several Class Cs blocked. That's 256 IP addresses, and each IP address is basically a way to send mail, lots of it. So they can shut down your business. And when you get that, you just say, well, okay, you made a mistake. Let's unblock it. Obviously, you made a mistake. Well, that'll be $10,000. And this guy is on a boat living in Greece. Okay. Now, I mean, that is the type of thing that you're going with. And so you can do it a little bit. You don't have to be Spam Hoss to do it. You just have to get a little group of people together. And this is what they did to James O'Keefe. So it'd be interesting if you go to projectveritas.com just to check your deep state, if your provider is using a spam filter that is deep state related or just doesn't care. I mean, these people don't care about censoring information. Just go to Project Veritas and sign up for their update. So whenever he puts a story out or a new video, I think it's for the media and for, you should be able to find it in there. And it's because everybody's downloading the video all at once before he releases it on his site. He sends out this mailing so that the servers don't get overflowed all at once. And because everybody's going to be downloading it all at once. So anyway, put your name on that list and see if you get any of his mail. Every single one of mine goes into gray mail and is filtered out even after I tell them not to do it. So that's another cheap little trick that's going on right there. But yeah, I mean, that's something that it doesn't seem like much, but it is censorship. That's censorship. And that's the same thing. You're falsely accusing somebody of an internet crime. It's not a crime, but a violation that's going to affect their reputation. And so that seems to be the modus operandi here. I don't know. I mean, the only natural progression, Phil, I think, is to start investigating all of these people that are involved, their friends, and the people they get money from, and right along the lines of pedophilia, and do it right. Don't accuse anybody unless there's something really there. And then you're going to see some heads roll. Right. So, yeah, I figure that's what we got going on. I think, I'm sure we'll be coming back to Kavanaugh here, but Yeah, it's really frustrating. I mean, I think a lot of people got very angry. I know I did about this entire thing. It was a little challenging to just sit back and then to know now, because nobody's asking questions at all. Oh, well, that didn't work. But now, wait a minute. You just destroyed somebody's life. You've put somebody up for perjury. They're getting paid. There's millions of people bought into this lie, and now we should just forget it because it didn't work. You know? I mean, shouldn't somebody be punished for this? I mean, that's the question. I mean, what crimes were committed? I mean, perjury in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee, that's a felony. And then isn't a person who would coerce somebody to commit a felony, that's a felony, right? Mm-hmm. If the polygraph tester, I mean, there's a bunch of people, there are dozens of people behind her. You know, the lawyers, you know, of course, they've got all sorts of sneaky ways of getting out of things, but I mean, people should check out the lawyers. People should check out who hired them, who paid for it. I mean, you know, if you paid somebody to commit a felony, that's a crime. So I don't know. I mean, that should happen. Or you coerce, right? Isn't that a crime as well?
Yeah.
You know, if I talk somebody into killing somebody and I consistently do it and then I step back, I mean,
then you're complicit. You're an accomplice. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, especially if I gain something from it, especially if I'm part of a political group. That's also, there's probably some other type of crime involved in that. And not to mention, if these people are working against the President of the United States, who is the commander-in-chief, and they're out to destroy him, wow. You know, I think there's some different charges involved in that. Like me paying somebody to overthrow the President of the United States, don't they have that, you know, right in the line of treason? Don't they have that in the line of, I mean, there's some federal crimes there. There's some crimes that probably date back to the late 1700s regarding that.
Like, we're seeing things get a little loose. You remember that Jason Unruh? I don't know how to pronounce his name. The guy with the mohawk and the bat covered in barbed wire. Basically, what was not a veiled threat against the president. And when stuff like that, and there's been a lot of that stuff, and when we allow that and allow that and allow that, then some guy who watched Breaking Bad sees like, I could make ricin. I saw White make ricin. I can make ricin. I'm going to do it like they did on the TV show.
Well, and that dude just got arrested for it.
Did you see that? Yeah.
I mean, there's that whole thing, and they think for some reason that this is somehow a noble cause. How is it a noble cause to... This is just madness. How is it a noble cause to undermine real rape victims? I mean, come on. I mean, we're getting beyond politics here. Who cares if it's a Republican or Democrat? I mean, you're talking about rape victims. How is that a noble cause? How is it a noble cause to disrespect your country? I mean, you can hate who the president is, but I mean, how is it noble to disrespect veterans and memorials and urinating on flags? I mean, how is that noble? I don't get it. I mean, I really don't care. Now, I remember a very young age, okay, give you an idea, but not only about my age, but how young I was when I first started making statements about politics. When Jimmy Carter was elected president of the United States, I mean, I was really, really young. And I remember my father being upset about that whole thing. And so during the day, I built this little house in the fireplace out of, I don't know, popsicle sticks and wood, and then put a little sign on it saying Jimmy Carter's Peanut Farm. And when, my dad came home, I set his house on, I set the little Jimmy Carter's Peanut Farm on fire. That's a pretty innocent form of protest, okay? I mean, I wasn't burning, but I mean, at a very young age, I had that, I mean, it was kind of, I don't know.
Just don't mess with Billy Beer, please.
No kidding. So, I mean, we're not gonna burn people's houses down. We're not gonna. I mean, here's the bottom line. Whatever happened to civility and politeness? I mean, that's usually where it should start. And the best people making an argument at the end of the day. Maybe they're not going to win it in the media, and that's a sad thing. But, I think the people that sleep well at night are just polite, civil, and moral, moral behavior. Like there's certain things they won't do, like everything that's happening last month with this Kavanaugh deal. Those are things that you won't do. And, man, now, I'm not saying that, hey, oh, wow, that's, I know that's an impossible request for politicians, okay? I'm not that ignorant. I mean, good politicians have to have that real kind of, there's certain, shall we say, qualities, quote unquote, that you have to be an effective politician. But when you get the public involved in campaigns like this, I mean, this is just disgusting. It's way out of line. And it just makes you wonder, if that's possible, if you can get, and people still believe this guy. They don't want to believe anything else. They still believe that this guy is a rapist, drunk, and that and they're going to protest every decision, that he makes, and they're going to try to impeach him, by the way. So, now what's going to happen with this is that they're going to have to find a new target, or a new target will just come along. And the attention span of these people is such that they can really kind of only concentrate on one thing at a time. I'm kind of getting that impression right now. I mean, like nobody's talking about saving the whales right now. Nobody's talking about fracking. Nobody's talking about anything else. It's just this one thing. And you have to get everybody there, and then they do it, and then they lose, and then no matter how much damage is left behind, they're just going to keep doing it again. And when it comes around to something that is somebody that's currently who can be affected by, let's say, something that information inside a government agency, somebody that is a senior director of a certain department that has information that signs on to one of these things, there could be some real destruction. I don't see. I really, if these folks are willing to do everything that they did last month, I don't think that they would have any problem whatsoever handing over government secrets of any level to a foreign government if somebody told them to. I mean, outright commit espionage. And not everybody that does that can, pull a Chelsea Manning and get a presidential pardon because, oh, wow, this is how I get out of jail. But, I mean, I really don't see them having any problem whatsoever with that. Do you? I mean, treason doesn't seem like such a big deal anymore.
Right, yeah. We're entering we've been entering a very strange political landscape in the past, I'd say, honestly, this whole century has been that. Like, it started with the polarization, the hyper-partisan polarization began with George Bush. And then with Obama, it just got kicked into overdrive. And by the time of Trump, because, let's face it, Trump is the anti-Obama. And so is having the same kind of effect, like, how adamant some conservatives were on, everything Obama did is wrong, and well, it's now the other side feeling the same way, and we're entering a really dangerous danger. This is the conditions that are necessary for civil war to occur. I've seen way too many people who and this goes for both sides. They don't see someone who disagrees with them as a human anymore.
I have to check on you something though. I can see the sentiment, but I mean, speaking, as a libertarian, but I mean, I'm a fiscal conservative, so a lot of the stuff that Obama did, I mean, really, really upset me. But I didn't have this. I hate everything about the guy. I actually, every time I saw him golfing, my attitude towards Obama was, when I see him out golfing, when I see him doing all of these things, and he's just golfing with his friends, okay? He's not golfing as part of business. He's not there to meet other people and discuss what needs to be done. This guy, I think Obama was lazy, personally. You take a look at how much, I bet, if you look at it, I bet if there was some way of figuring out him clocking in and clocking out and, how much presidential time, I think especially the last 4 years, he was just avoiding everything. I don't think, he won the prize and he didn't realize that, oh, wow, I actually need to do something now. This is an actual job. He just wanted to be president. He didn't want to, have the job. He realized, oh, wow, this is a responsibility and a job. And so my attitude towards Obama is that I was actually grateful to see him out on the golf course and messing around and going weeks without anyone seeing him, because my attitude was that, hey, I just don't want this guy to do anything. Let's just wait it out, because pretty much everything that he touched was just terrible. I mean, really bad stuff. And I mean, I agree with Trump on a lot of these things. I mean, Obamacare, I mean, the idea, the very concept of having to pay not to have health insurance was just insane. Okay, I'm sorry. That's really, really bad. And then, of course, I mean, how do you get a country, a very trustworthy country like Iran? I mean, you're going to hand them billions of dollars and fly it over in jets. I mean, who got a cut of that? Somebody got a cut of that. Oh, yeah, I remember. Clinton was Secretary of State, I mean, come on. So, yeah, well, John Kerry was obviously the orchestrator there. So, yeah, my whole deal with that was that, no, you didn't. I didn't have outright hatred. I mean, I accepted that he was president. I mean, that's the first thing. There's still a lot of people that just deny that Trump is even president. They're still in the state of denial anger. But now I think the problem is that you got somebody who's going to work every day and getting a lot done. And whether you agree with it or not, he's getting things done. And I mean, you and I were in Singapore, and I mean, how could that be a bad thing? I mean, we talked to everybody, and during the summit there, and it's what, how can you think? But rest assured, you'll find a way. CNN will find a way. Somebody will find a way. And I don't think it was that extreme.
Do you remember me telling you when I went to the little newsstand in the Changi, the Singapore airport, right? And the cover of The Economist that week or that day was basically saying that Trump had been screwed and taken in by Kim. And I asked the Singaporean lady at the counter, and I'm like, what do you think about that headline there? And then she just kind of scoffed. Oh, that's just the Western media. They're skewed. They're biased. And then I cut her off there. I was like, you know what? Actually, I happen to be a Western journalist. She looks down. She's like, oh, I'm sorry. No, hold on. And I agree with you. But yeah, we didn't run into one person in Singapore who bought into the bull. They lived too close to Kim Jong-il to not like what was going on.
Yeah, the only person that I ran into who just couldn't get past it, and the question was, I mean, do you think this is a good thing? Okay, and obviously I think I told you about this couple that lived on Sentosa Island, and
the one was a liberal, one was
one was a Russian woman who she was just like, yeah, this is great. She happened to be a Trump supporter, and the other guy was, I think, he was European, I think, and boy, did he just hate Trump. I mean, but to the point where he would not admit what was occurring around us at that time was a good thing. Just them talking. They were saying, oh, he's going to start World War III. He's going to, it's like, now, wait a minute. Just a second here. So, yeah, I mean, even, if, I don't know. I mean, you have to be in the situation. It's like, when you're in an emergency or the building's on fire, you only really know if you're going to go in and save the woman and the baby in the burning building until it happens. Everybody can say that they're going to do it, but I think if you look deep enough, and I don't think that I would have during the Obama era have been openly chastising Obama for meeting with Kim Jong-un. I just don't think I have that in me. But it's amazing that people do. So no matter what this guy does, you've got this absolute craziness that's going on, and we saw the extent of it. Now, I'd like to get into a little bit more of the mind control here, because I mean, we've seen the videos, we've seen her eyes, the self-hypnosis stuff. Of course, that works with lie detectors. That works if you're not telling the truth and you want to be credible. Poker players do a form of that. They have a form of it. They're extremely aware of their tells. The people who treat or help professional poker players with their tells to get over their tells, they usually have a background in psychology or any form of. They're usually a psychiatrist, psychologist, or neurologist. The people that are training professional poker players. So there's a science to it. There's a science to lying, and I think that she, certainly, this is a science. I mean, look at this. This was a lie. Okay, there's no doubt about it. Nobody, I mean, if there was a chance, this guy, he would not have been voted in if the FBI came back and found a scintilla of truth. A scintilla, a small piece of evidence. Right. They quickly threw it out. And they just, the whole FBI, well, you have to have this investigation. And once they did, I mean, I think it was during the third day, I think we were on Wednesday, and they said, well, we're done. We're done with this. It's over. We don't even need to talk to her. We know she's lying. We don't even want to talk to her. There's no way that he could have done this, and that doesn't matter. And so nobody is going to apologize. I mean, can you imagine? And that's the whole game that's going on here. I don't see it getting any better, and I see us, unfortunately, needing to use the power of 8chan because what are you going to do? You're the person that's under attack. You're going to have to fight back. And, I mean, we're under attack constantly from this stuff. I don't know. We don't want to talk about any time that we spend dealing with it because that would further encourage people. But, we're disrupted on a daily basis by this nonsense. And it's simply because we're not part of their group.
And speaking of 8chan, Wired did an article about we're information terrorists, Burdock. We're information terrorists trying to reshape America. Woo!
I thought we were Nazis.
No. Nazis aren't scary enough.
An information terrorist.
Information terrorist trying to reshape America. Network architecture built in Gamergate helped propel Trump to the presidency and fuel conspiracies like Pizzagate and QAnon. Now it's backing Brett Kavanaugh. Hey, at least they're not calling us Russian terrorists anymore. Remember, we were Russian terrorists last year.
Oh, that's true.
We were Russian hackers last year, and now we're information. Okay, we went from Nazis to Russian hackers. Now we're information terrorists. It's kind of like with the charges against Kavanaugh. He's a rapist. Oh, he's not a rapist. Okay, he's a drunk. Okay, hold on. He's not got judicial temperament. They're just throwing it at the wall, seeing what'll stick.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so and that's in Wired, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's nuts because look at what happened last month. Who's the information terrorist? My Lord. They terrorized this man's family. They went and targeted this. That's really like he was terrorized by misinformation. That is the closest thing. And for Wired being part of that group, by the way, whoa, did that magazine just dump? My Lord.
Can you imagine what it was like for his kids when they went to school? No, think about that. These kids had to go to school, and the whole world is calling their daddy not even just a rapist. He's a gang rapist. He's a serial gang rapist.
Yeah. Yeah. And none of it's true. Nobody's going to apologize. I don't know. I think it might be worth the taxpayer money. You got to do something. It's a crime what they did. It's a crime what they did. Unlike them, we're not committing any crime. We're just hitting on things that people don't like. And of course, this is a perfect place to be talking about it here on Revolution Radio, and on this show in particular. What True has gone through his entire life, his professional career, for speaking the truth, speaking his mind, being unafraid to walk into these situations with an open mind, and then when he thoroughly analyzes something, come out and just really talk to people about it in an open forum. And boy, yeah, it's dangerous business. We see this day in and day out. True certainly has gone through a lot. A lot. And so unfortunately, I think that as 2020 approaches, it's going to get really bad. But so I think you either have to fight back, which of course we've got probably one of the greatest weapons on earth. These people work with us, and you're either going to do that and use it, or you're going to encourage law enforcement to throw some of these people in jail. And maybe there's going to be like throwing a couple people in jail. Maybe some people will, not. They'll consider, but most of these people, I think, Phil, they're so crazy right now that I think they would have like some sort of martyrdom. I think. Speaking of terrorists, this is just funny you bring up that word, because you're thinking about what they did last month and how this is just getting glossed over, and it's fine. But I really think the attitude is that a person that did go to jail would be celebrated, some sort of martyr. I can see that happening. That is the type of behavior, and I think that how bad is it going to get? Well, you were just talking about civil war. And now we're talking about martyrdom. And these people don't have guns, okay? They'll quickly get them. Okay, they don't want anyone to have guns, but And what's the next step? They're openly assaulting people on the street. They're assaulting police officers. They're celebrating the death of police officers. You start adding all of this up, and there really is, two sides to the whole deal. And so, wow, when one side has the property and the guns, and the other side really, is they're conducting against they're operating de facto against the law, they're going to be default criminals. So you're going to have, I think these Antifa guys are going to have like another step where, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you're going to start seeing the days of, you know how crazy those PETA folks get. I mean, they love animals, they hate humans, they're going to start blowing people up. I mean, we've seen that. We've seen them spiking trees. We've seen them setting bombs off. I mean, liberals have gone through, and to have the support of the deep state with you, and to have this mind control issue, which clearly happened. I mean, just take a look at what happened in the media protecting you and encouraging you. That is clearly the next step, I think. Civil war and real terrorists, people with bombs. And by the way, Antifa is and has been for years classified as a domestic terror organization by the FBI. So, you know, I mean, how can we, and of course now all these people are, you know, shrouding themselves in black, covering their faces, I mean, and performing sabotage. So I think that's how it starts, Phil. I think you're right. A question is over what? Because it could be anything. It really could be anything. This time it was the Supreme Court judge, but next time it could be really anything that sets it off.
Well, thank you, Hal. Oh no, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I mean, if it doesn't happen before 2020, I think it's practically going to be guaranteed when Trump gets reelected.
Yes. I think that if Kavanaugh gets confirmed, we will see riots. I've already seen where they're setting this up, where we have in 906, we're ready for a rapid response. No, by rapid response, they mean rioting and property damage.
Yeah.
The moment, you know, if Kavanaugh gets confirmed, when he does, there will be massive riots in the street.
Yeah. Well, here's the question, though. You got places like Portland where you have a mayor who has told, I mean, he hates the police. He encourages Antifa. And so he's certainly not going to have any contingency in place. He's not going to want riot police. And I mean, I was writing this this morning to Red Pill. I think I made a comment in an open channel that, and I'm being facetious about this, folks. But if I was the governor of Oregon and right today, I would put the National Guard. I would have them armed with live ammunition, and I would send them into Portland right now and shut this thing down right quick.
You got to remember, Portland is to Oregon what Austin is to Texas. It's a little sea of, you know, Antifa and what, or it's a little island of Antifa and, you know, far progressivism within an ocean of actual just conservatives.
Yeah, no, there's real people, especially in Eastern Oregon. I mean, some good people, and North and South as well. I mean, I lived there. I had a house there, and you know, just that whole area. And there's certain areas of Portland, in the Beaverton area near Nike's campus. You got a lot of those people. And then, of course, anywhere north, you got a massive lesbian population in the north of Portland area. So it's interesting.
That makes sense because there's lumberjacks, and a lot of times lesbians dress like lumberjacks. I get it.
There you go. Yeah. No, I mean, like Nike's management, Nike, you know, they're dipping their toe in the water with this, you know, sponsoring someone who doesn't, who is disrespecting the flag publicly. Right. They're selling balaclavas in England.
I saw that. Right. Then they're like, "Oh, we weren't." Yeah. Okay.
And then they lie about it. Yeah. and then they lie about it. I mean, it was obvious they were arming Antifa with luxury rioting gear.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they were doing, and they just want to be edgy and cool, and you know, this isn't a joke. 80% of upper management in Nike, middle to upper management, that I saw there, and I've spent a lot of time on that campus, are lesbians. And lesbians are historically Subaru driving liberals, and who are very sympathetic to Antifa, and who put one of the biggest marketing machines with billions of dollars to spend on marketing, and not to expect something political to come out of that environment. You got to be crazy. But they're living in this little isolated world and really could care less as to how this affects the world, as long as they're selling product. And I guess, you know, I thought that their stock would take a hit. The numbers are saying that their sales are up and their stock hasn't dove. That's a real shame. I think that companies, especially public corporations, should be punished for getting themselves deep into politics. I mean, it's just not smart. It's not good business to isolate so many people. I wouldn't buy Nike stock, and I probably wouldn't go as far as if Nike was a prominent position in a mutual fund, I probably would select to buy a different one that, you know, had similar performance. And that, you know,
Wind.
yeah. So anyway, we'll be getting into that a little bit. I know we're coming up on break, but we'll be getting back into next month. Have a caller coming in. In a bit. Okay.
Things were not quite right. Everything was just ever so slightly askew.
Do you have to paraphrase Morpheus, a splinter in your mind?
If you're interested in hearing the latest information about UFOs, the paranormal,
ancient cultures and structures,
atomic elements,
longevity,
fantastic discoveries in science,
then
tune into us. Hi, I'm Dave.
And I'm Mackie.
And we are Shiny Side Out, Sundays 2 to 4 a.m. Eastern. See you then.
Revolution Radio, radiosfolks.com. Keeps you to expect us. We're already.
Join me with Dave from a new show. Chris Joe. It's going to be a problem show. See you live from Thursday. Dealing with hot topic debate what's new around the world, and ring in to discuss this problem and offer consider solutions. So join me, Chris Hart, the Chris Joe. Stop what you're doing. Grab a tea, live from Kensington. Relax. Let me entertain you in coffee bar online. It's very problem.
Is your data safe? Do you have the necessary
to assist you confidently living through just about any survival situation. Survival and gardening, off-grid living, medical knowledge, or even natural or man-made EMPs on your list of personal concerns. You have your documents and your personal information in a safe place in your hands. You know where it is. Well, check out our preloaded EMP-proof thumb drive. Over 3 gigs of survival documents and how-tos, plus the USDA offline food preservation website, and much more, including a surprise bonus we just can't tell you about. With plenty of room left over to store your most important documents. Imagine if a megavirus or computer failure took out your bank, or all the banks for that matter. Are your banking records safe in your hands? So when they get things fixed and repaired, you can say, hey, look, this is what I had. You have it, I want it back. Is your personal data safe? Family records, addresses, phone numbers? Squeeze on over to freedomslips.com. Yes, that's www.freedomslips.com. Click the banner on the homepage for the EMP-proof bullet drive to get the full scoop of everything that we offer. So, folks, keep your data safe for your peace of mind. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here.
Looking for a nightcap to fill your listening needs? Come join us on Spaced Out Radio with me, Dave Scott, right here on Revolution Radio. Monday through Friday for 3 hours a night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. We will take you down the supernatural path. From ET contact to the paranormal and all of the spiritual, cryptid, and conspiracy stories in between. You can find us right here on Revolution Radio, at spacedoutradio.com, on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, and on Facebook at Spaced Out Radio Show. Spaced Out Radio. It's a night of talk and interaction. Are you experienced?
The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listeners radio, and now we return you to your host.
Welcome back, folks. This is the story behind the story with this is Major Burdock and Phil filling in for True, who is on another mission. Amazing. He didn't really get a chance to delve deep enough into what we had chatted. I mean, 2 hours is not enough ever for what needs to be said. So we're looking forward to seeing True again next week, and hopefully just pass the show gently and unabused and undamaged back over to him. In the meantime, we're going to delve in. We just covered Kavanaugh here, and the final vote came in from a senator in Maine a Republican senator, made female, and so her vote likely, well, it's basically 100% that the Judge Kavanaugh will be confirmed. So the reason this is important, what we're talking about it, the angle we're talking about in the first hour was, Jesus, wow, how could we get to this point where an outright lie, and what is the machine behind it? How could this happen? I mean, how could this be taken so seriously? And it just is showcasing the powerful mechanism that the deep state has, and how willing they are to use it on a whim. Now, this isn't a small thing. Supreme Court Justice nominee is a big deal, but there's something more important at play here. And we came up to the end of last hour talking about how you've got all the makings for a civil war here, folks. You have people who are more likely, if they're willing to do this, they're certainly willing to blindly commit treason. You've got people actively working against the President of the United States. You have people who are disrespecting the flag. you have people who are insulting veterans, and you've got some scary propaganda and a massive media machine to propagate worldwide any sort of nonsense. Any sort. When you have a Senate Judiciary Committee looking into a man's yearbook, trying to decode the scribblings of a teenager,
4th of July.
You've got some serious issues. You've got some serious problems. And it's a lie. It was a lie from the beginning. Anyone with half a brain, anyone with two brain cells to rub together knew it was a lie. And nobody's getting punished. And it's, well, let's just move on to the next thing. And that is what they're doing. So what is the next thing? And it could be anything. So that's what we're going to be talking about. We do have a caller, one of our writers, we affectionately know as Red Pill, will be calling in. We're just going to try to figure out if we'll be using a regular phone line or Skype for that. But in the meantime, we're just going to take it away with, where we left off. I think civil war is definitely a possibility. I think that you're going to see, we were talking about Portland, the riots that are going to happen there. I mean, massive civil unrest. That's obviously the epicenter of where this lunacy is. And then, of course, the folks in San Francisco. They've got their own little petri dish going on over there. There's some scary, scary stuff happening there. But, yeah, so that's what we're going to be talking about here. And let's just move forward. I think, and maybe hit some of the other news, because every time we go back over our main headlines, and it just seems to all tie in. I mean, it really does. Have you seen this, Phil?
What's that?
Have you seen that? Whenever we get on a show and we're on one topic, and I'm just going to go to the goldwater.com right now, and it's just right there. Okay, male student under attack for make them scared website, uncorroborated sexual assaults. We covered that a little bit. I mean, these are the people that are in training for what we're talking about, which is attack as boldly and as quickly as you can, no matter what it costs, no matter how untrue it is. This seems to be the training manual for martyrdom. I think we really did hit on it. I think it's ironic that we're being called information terrorists by Wired Magazine. Hey, I like that. It's great. Interesting that they haven't reached out to us. I am the editor-in-chief over here, and we've got a ton of great reporters that are very accessible. All of their articles have contact information, and nobody has talked to me, including Jim Cherney and all of our executives over here and our editing staff. I haven't gotten any word for a request for interview from Wired Magazine yet. It's so simple to just point a finger and call us information terrorists. Incredible. So, let's see. So Red Pill is one of our writers, and Red Pill covers pedogate. So there's really probably no one better to talk to regarding the tie-in that we're going to be doing. And we will try to get, there's some other incredible breaking news, and Dom got this to me very quickly during the week. I think it was day before yesterday, about China, and we'll get into some of that. But Red Pill is one of our U.S. She's a U.S. Writer, and also handles a few other things for the Goldwater, and is responsible for probably 90% of the articles that you see on the headline Pedogate. We're one of the very few news organizations that does religiously report on pedophilia, because mainstream media, for whatever reason, well, we kind of know the reason, and Hollywood and the Democratic Party, they really don't like talking about this. They don't like this because it's just debunked, right? Isn't that right, Phil?
Right, yeah. Snopes said nopes. Yeah.
Yeah, Snopes, of course, is, debunks everything, debunks the world if it's convenient. So let's see if we can't get a phone number posted on our Skype chat for to call in, and I think it's Freedom Screen 2 is the Skype, and I'll just be going back over on Slack, and we'll see if we can't get Red Pill hooked up. This will be a really great moment. This is the first time that we've actually had an interview of this kind, so it'll be nice if we can get hooked up. But yeah, there's just there's a lot of this stuff that's really political. I mean, for example, just run it down. Chicago police officer Jason Van Dyke found guilty of murder. This guy did shoot the guy 16 times, which I think is pretty much what his handgun carries. But he's white, and the criminal with the knife who was, threatening people was black. So, yeah, I think there's a little politics there. I mean, you had activists immediately coming out because there was only one black juror and one Asian juror, and I don't know if that's a bad thing to have an Asian. I don't know. I would say it's pretty bad in San Francisco, considering most of the aggravated assault and robbery that happened, and these numbers are insane. Most of the aggravated assault and robbery that happens on the peninsula, like muggings, are black on Asian. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. And, shouldn't somebody be crying foul about race on that one? So I would say
Asians aren't an oppressed minority. In fact, they're basically, they're like, have you heard this? Do you know that straight black males, straight cisgendered black males, this was an actual Root headline, are the white guys of black guys. And gay white cisgendered males are the straight guys of gay guys. I have seen this argument made. So the oppression Olympics has become, it's highly tiered at this point. So since Asians tend to, Asians do better in school and make more money on average than white people. So we don't count them as an oppressed minority. Now, nobody mentions the obvious issue of Jewish privilege. Sarah Silverman was complaining that there's too many white men on the Supreme Court. Well, 3 out of 8 at the moment are Jewish people. That's 37-point-something%. That's almost 40% of the Supreme Court is Jewish, when less than 2% of, whoa, hold on. Now, that's overrepresentation. By 200 or 2,000% overrepresentation by the numbers.
Yeah. I mean, and I noticed that there's if you want to take this overboard, if you really do, you can start going into handicapped people. And I mean, I noticed, Phil, that there aren't any mentally retarded people sitting on the Supreme Court. Okay? Did you notice this?
You're right. That is very ableist. That's incredibly ableist. I've heard that they don't even let people be pilots unless they can fly an airplane, which is also horrifically ableist.
That's just that's just such a travesty. We need to change that immediately. Okay? When is it going to end, people? When is it going to end? So I'm going to be, let's see, I'm in studio right now. We're going to see if we can patch Red Pill in here in Manila, because I think we have the technology. We've got a studio here. And we'll see if we can't get a number. Let me just find that number. And I don't know what the Skype stuff. Sorry about this. We should have had this all rigged up before, but let me see if I can find the studio number. Should be pinned somewhere in here. Yeah, so the call-in line, we can go ahead and try this, is 775-235-0585. And so that's, we'll be looking for Red Pill on that line right there. And I will post that into this Skype channel, and we'll see if we can't hook in via a regular phone, a Nevada phone number coming to Manila, going back to San Francisco and around the world. We'll see if we can't do that. And we have the technology, folks, or we'll at least try to use it to the best of our ability. Really exciting. I hope that works out. If not, we'll be standing by in radio for any comments Red Pill wants to give us in the meantime. So, yeah, and folks, if in the meantime, just give us a moment, see if that doesn't work, and we can just open it up to the rest of anyone else who wants to ring in. Be nice. Be great to hear from you folks. Open lines. So, Civil War, Phil. Civil War. We can just rock this all day long, but I do see the makings for it. I do. And one side is obviously wrong. You know? Are you with me on this?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, just wrong. Lying wrong. I mean, if anything, they proved it. So,
as soon as the Kavanaugh stuff started again, it felt immediately like Pissgate. And the fact that Pissgate, which isn't talked about much anymore because it's been nearly fully discredited, but that doesn't mean that people don't still believe it. The people who want to believe it still believe it. If Kavanaugh is confirmed, a good 1/3 to 60%, I'd say, of people, probably not 60%, but close to half, you know, at least up in the 40s probably, will still think that this guy is a serial gang rapist. Even though they called for an FBI investigation and there was one, even though the investigation by Mueller, which was being called a witch hunt because they didn't find anything. And we've got 2 FBI investigations. One of them is run over 2 years, or nearly 2 full years. They found nothing in both cases, but they still feel like it's true.
Yeah, no, it's true. And it's not going to help anything when you've got the media they're certainly never going to retract anything. They're never going to apologize. And then you have on top of it the fact checkers that they pay, okay? They pay. I mean, I find it interesting that all the fact checkers are getting just massive amounts of money from obviously liberal organizations such as Facebook, who freaked out. One of their executives is a friend of Brett Kavanaugh, and the whole company freaked out that the guy flew out to D.C. to help his friend. You know, God forbid you should be with you. And if there's a time that you need a friend, and I mean, come on. That guy needs a friend right now. He needs a few dozen good friends, people that he can trust right now to be around.
I can't imagine what it's like. Like I said, for his life, and especially for the poor kids. You know, there's kids sniggering behind their back. So-and-so's dad is
the daughter's, you know, old enough. She's old enough to understand, you know, what's happening. She's old enough to know she's 10 years old. So.
And USA Today is saying he shouldn't be allowed around her soccer team. Dude, that's pernicious.
It's so bad.
Even Tony Montana said no women, no kids. You know? Even Tony Montana said you don't attack the kids.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll you know, I just don't see an end to it. And then, of course, now, all right, I haven't looked. Okay, let's don't do it right now. Before well, we probably don't need to make a bet because we're both going to be betting on the same thing on this one. But don't look right now. Let's see if we can accurately predict what Snopes is going to say. First of all, they're not going to craft the question, was Brett Kavanaugh a rapist? You know, they're not going to say anything straightforward. They're going to say, was he accused?
That's absolute defamation territory. Yeah.
Yeah. They're going to craft the question so that it's in such a way that was he accused rightfully, was he accused with good evidence of rape? And they'll say, yes, this is true. And everybody just looks and they see Brett Kavanaugh, rape, green check mark. And that's it. And that's what
that's one of their games I've noticed. They're big on the straw man. They debunk Pizzagate because they'll pick one ridiculous thing Alex Jones or Mike Chernovich said. Hillary Clinton was caught in the basement of Comet Ping Pong eating babies. And then they'll be like, the Pizzagate conspiracy theory was that Hillary Clinton was, and that's not true. That's called a straw man as far as logical fallacies go. And that is one of Snopes' most potent tools, the straw man. Attack the weakest premise that some disinfo shill has tossed out and ignore anything that is true about it.
Yeah. No, it's nuts. Well, I don't know. I think that you're just going to have that 40% of the population. And I keep saying this as well. I think that there are some fairly intelligent people in the Democratic Party, the Democrat Party, that are there just for their own self-worth are going to fracture off. And I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I think I really view this as being kind of a cataclysm, because you've got this, it's almost the perfect storm, because it is so ridiculous what they've done. Then they doubled down on it, and we're at the end of that today. As of 2 hours ago, we're at the end of it. Everybody who has seen the FBI investigation obviously is saying, yeah, all right, we knew it. And then, of course, they're going to call for more. They're going to say that it's wrong. They're going to, all of this. But I think that you're just going to have it. There is no other way forward for the Democrat Party aside from to split into hardcore progressive socialists and people who are embarrassed to be associated with them. I mean, there's no other way. You're going to have that split, because I don't see them. They're going to turn on each other the way they're going. You're either extreme. You see this happening all around. You're either with us, or we're going to scream at you when you try to go out to a restaurant or anything, assault you in the street, throw feces or urine on you. And it's just there's going to be a faction that gets more and more extreme. And once violence starts erupting, I think that you'll see some people are going to get shot, and that's going to create more violence. And, they should learn, because we have the guns. They don't. Okay. By the way, good time, folks. Good time to pick up your AR-15s and everything right now. I know that those bump stocks were there was a problem with that. It was a little concession that had to be made. But, yeah, definitely good time to be picking up your ammunition. So you typically want to do it before these shootings happen, and there's going to be some, because your prices are going to be a lot better right now. And there's a couple companies that we use that we recommend, and I'm not going to get into plugging them on this show, but if you watch our show, Nothing to Declare, that's going to be that's on Tuesday. I'm sorry, Monday nights at 7 Pacific. Monday nights at 7 Pacific, we have a show. Phil and Diana and I get on, and we go off. We'll make sure to plug a few people. Also want to talk to folks that in Texas. We do have a couple of connections in Texas. One of our writers is from there, and we're getting some good response from people in Texas right now, because we're going to be talking a lot more about guns. And this is going to be an issue that's going to be a hot button issue where there's going to be such a push on guns because there's going to be a shooting. So you might want to stock up on your ammunition. Maybe, might be a good time to buy a rifle. Economy's doing well. Invest in a night scope, or that AR, that modification, maybe some extra magazines. It's a good time to do it. Prices are pretty stable right now, and there's no more new funky, senseless laws out there pending. So, with that, we'll run into guns next week. I think that'll be fun to talk about. And we need to get to the range again. Do you enjoy? We did a little shooting.
I want to smell gun oil. Yeah. We went out to the range over here in the Philippines, and it was a nice place. Just lots of fun. Fully automatic weapons. Nice stuff. They happen to have as the targets. They just happen to have Obama, Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, that's just nuts. That's just nuts. That's crazy that they had that stuff. And those are the only targets they had. Yeah. Pretty crazy. But we'll need to get out there and get you going fully auto. That's a real pleasure.
I have never shot a fully automatic weapon. No, I've shot a rifle, shotgun, handgun, but never anything fully automatic. I was lucky to be raised in Tennessee, where when I was in high school, we had health, right, which teaches us nutrition and sexual education, and then we also had gun safety course. Do you know that at the end of our gun safety course, as part of school, we fired guns? We got to fire guns. School asked us to fire guns. Now, just like with the sexual education or whatever, our parents had to sign off. And if they didn't want us to learn about sex or fire guns, we didn't have to, or didn't get to, rather. But I got to shoot guns for school when I was in high school. That's the 90s in Tennessee, though. It's a different world today.
Yeah, absolutely. Same thing with me. I mean, we pretty much everybody I knew, we took hunter safety. I mean, the girls too. And we had, it was a rural area. So we took a field trip to the slaughterhouse. We took to the stockyards. And so, I mean, that's real life. That's what happens all around you. A lot of the kids knew that because that's what their parents do. But the kids that didn't, I'd never been to a slaughterhouse or a stockyard. And so, I mean, it's a pretty harsh thing, but, there's a certain amount of respect. There's a Navy base, out there nearby, and you go out there and, get to play around and look in, crawl up and look inside the cockpit of an FA-18 fighter jet. That's pretty cool. I remember they put on a fireproof suit. This guy, the safety guys, displayed a fireproof suit, and they had a guy with a flamethrower come out and torch him with the flamethrower. That was awesome. I mean, I don't think those are all things. And of course, if you really made a mistake when you were a kid, you got paddled. And so these are all things
Oh, yeah.
that could never exist today. Never. And they should. They should. And again, if you don't want your kid to be learning that, then find a waiver or send them to a different school. But I submit that it's totally the opposite. I just think that everything should be available, and there shouldn't be one agenda, one progressive common core, because it's just getting worse. You're just seeing the behavior of Twitter and Google and Facebook right now is a direct correspondence. The way that you've got these people doing this with no argument and thinking that it's right is because they were taught this. They were taught. That is what this first generation, and they're now in the workforce of this ultra-liberal education that is just mindless, absolutely mindless, groupthink. And anyone that steps outside of the group, boy, are they just chastised. I mean, you're completely gone if you step out of line. And so I suppose that's good for company culture. I mean, for productivity or something like that. But it's downright scary when the executives are into censorship and lying and theft and mismanagement and, all sorts of monopolistic behavior. Now, me talking about monopolistic behavior, it takes a lot for me to start talking about antitrust and having government come in and do anything.
Right,
but
yeah.
What?
Anti-regulatory until it gets to the point where whatever other force is going to become the same sort of authoritarian structure as the government is trying to be.
I mean, my big problem is that they are controlling free speech.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that should not happen. And they're regulating the internet without anyone, privately in boardrooms, deciding what can and cannot be said to other people in the world. And that's terrifying. That's downright scary. And if antitrust is the only way to break that up and stop them from doing it, because their own morality or sense of it or lack of it is not going to stop them. I mean, somebody coming in and saying, hey, listen, what you're doing is wrong. It's inherently wrong. It's downright scary. Have you read 1984? Have you read these books? Brave New World. They don't end well. None of it ends well. And are you aware that socialism creates things like Venezuela? It's almost
that wasn't real socialism. That wasn't real socialism.
Oh, really? What flavor should we use today?
Every time socialism and communism fail or become vicious and authoritarian, the rule is, but that wasn't real socialism.
Let's try it again. Yeah. It's just, what is going on with these people?
I put a fork in the socket and it zapped me. So let me try a spoon. Okay, hold on. Let me get the knife.
Yeah, exactly. What are we gonna do here? This is nuts. It really is. There is no. It's just A to B, A to B, A to B. There's nothing else. It just bounced back and forth. There's just no people aren't learning that. Do you think anyone's going to learn that it was wrong, that they were wrong to get on this bandwagon for the last week or the last month with this Kavanaugh thing? No, it's just going to be something new and something more outrageous next time. And, man, I think you're right, man. I think people are going to start going way overboard. There's no sign that they are learning. There's just no sign of it. And, man, what do you do? What do you do to a dog that keeps biting people? You're going to have to discipline the dog. If the verbal commands don't work, you have to slap the dog on the nose. And if the dog bites, you're going to have to put it down. So I don't know. What's going to happen here? Somebody's going to do something really outrageous, really stupid, and police are going to have they're going to have to respond to it because they'll be protecting the public, which is their job. and one of these Antifa people is going to get shot, and it's, God forbid, it's a black Antifa person. Although the good thing there is I don't know, they're all covered up, so maybe, I don't know, the argument for racism might not be there because everybody's black, right? Wearing their Nike gear. I just see it happening. I do. I see it triggering, and I see that the deep state is going to be just. What is the end game? How can they? Are they honestly wanting to take over the government? Are they really? Or some may say that they already have. But there seems to be a lot of strife, and we talk a lot on this show, and I know there's not a lot of trust for Donald Trump, for regular listeners of True Show, and I know True doesn't trust him. I know, Phil, you don't trust him, and rightfully so. But I think it's probably a good sign, if anything, if people can learn something out of this, just to see the reaction to all of these people. It would make sense that he's not part of whatever this bad, he's at least not part of that part of it.
Right. Yeah.
Because, if he was, you wouldn't see all of this. So that might be encouraging to some people. I don't know.
There's definitely major interfactional skirmishes going on, like the whole bit with George Bush working so hard for Kavanaugh, despite the fact that he's anti-Trump, So, I don't see it. It would be such a simpler world, like I said, if we could just, left, right, up, down, black, white, good, bad. But it's really not really that simple a lot of times, and there's a lot going on. Most people, though, are stuck in a binary perception of things, and that's all they see is, is it the good guys who agree with me, or is it the bad guys who I dehumanize? And that's how we end up. That's how we end up in some scary spots. That's
Unfortunately, the way the mindset is working for a lot of these people, it's very clear, is that I think that's about all that they can understand. And the one thing that I would be just really trying to urge everyone just to agree on one thing, a couple of things, okay, just a few things. And I'm gonna name them off here, and I think they should be obvious, but it doesn't seem that it's that obvious to a lot of people. But if we could agree on all of these things, I think it would be great. Number one, don't rape and kill children. Okay, that's you're supposed to protect children, not brutalize them and kill them and use them for your own gain or currency or political appeal or have your own sick pleasure. Okay. I would hope that we could all agree on that, right? Any objections here? Come on. And if you're going to be, don't falsely accuse people of rape, because it
not only ruins an innocent person's life, but it makes things harder for the actual survivors of sexual assault.
Correct. Okay, so I think that would be good. Now, are we seeing a little bit of a pattern here? I think we hit 2 of the commandments here. Okay? Right? Are we seeing a pattern here, folks? Okay. Now, I really don't care what religion you are or if you subscribe. I'm not a big fan of institutionalized religion myself. I think that it's a sin to sell God. That's just me. But I'm seeing a little bit of a pattern here, that you got the commandments in play here. Okay. And I think that if everybody, and I wrote a thesis on the 10 commandments in every institutionalized religion in the world, all the main religions, including a lot of Gnostic. There are even in Aleister Crowley's, do what thou will. it's not all that simple there. And you have to get into how the ceremonies are written, the instructions for the ceremonies in, for example, the OTC or Wicca are written, where you will find practically all of the 10 Commandments.
Mm.
I mean, every civilized organization, culture that needs that's going to be able to sustain itself. I hate using that word. They just ruined it. But you know, you're going to have that in some form or another. Every major institutionalized, really every civilization has to have part of that. And obviously, that's not the case here. And here's the thing. Why don't you let's take a look. I don't need to, okay, because I know the answer to this one. But if you just click on the go to thegoldwater.com and click on the body count section, I think the Clintons pretty much covered it all. They got all 10. They got all of them. And are celebrated and revered. And therefore, I do believe that in some cases, this does get religious for me after a while, because you step back from it and you say, wow, this is a battle between good and evil. I do believe that. I know True believes that. I don't want to speak for him, but we've had this conversation before, and I've gotten a few ahas from him. But yeah, it's something, just this baseline thing. I think if you just go back and take a look at the 10 Commandments, start there, folks. Start there. And I don't know. You're not going to get, the media can't, I don't think, ever return, because the ratings will no longer be what they were. I mean, you have to report all of this. You have to be mired in it. You have to create the news, is what they're doing. And it's terrible. It really is. And the control, I think it's gone way out of hand. But hopefully people will come back. Interesting, though, Phil, maybe we should be taking a look. I don't know if I want to do this right now. It's kind of like the anticipation. I know they're feverishly writing this up right now. But to take a look at what is being updated right now on Wikipedia, as well as Snopes. Wikipedia obviously is, I don't know if you folks have had the same experience, but I've been kind of shocked at how unfactual or not unfactual, but really bent a lot of these annotations and the entries in Wikipedia are. Have you come across any of that stuff, Phil?
Of what? What in Wikipedia?
Yeah, Wikipedia, jilted, all sorts of screwy, slanted, weighed out.
Yeah. A part of that is because, like, you, once again, speaking of factions, you know that Scientologists are being constantly blocked at Wikipedia because of nefarious edits. You've got, you know, for a while there, I believe that Congress were not allowed to edit Wikipedia because there was so much, you know, monkey business going on there. And then we can't, of course, forget the Hasbara team, you know, the Zionist PR warriors who are, you know, sitting in these big, you know, compounds, who've been trained. I've seen videos where, you know, Zionists being trained how to, you know, infiltrate Wikipedia, how to build a name for yourself, doing innocuous edits so that later you can change what needs to be changed. Because you can't just jump in there and change things. You've got to, you know, build a profile, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope so. I would hope that, like, a botanist that is an expert on this certain amoeba. I mean, or, you know, the effect of, I don't know. I mean, any sort of, there's people with specialized knowledge in every area, but in it's woefully lacking in certain areas where if you get into like environmental science, okay, I mean, listen, folks, these people are not always right. Nobody's always right, okay? But here's the problem with environmentalists, okay? Here's the major issue. A lot of their money comes from the government and from people believing that the world is coming to an end because of whatever they're saying, whatever they're studying. So it is in their best interest to have the worst number possible. It is the same principle. How can you get somebody to do something? I think there's only two ways of doing it. I get arguments all the time, but if you distill the definition of these two words, I think it's fair to say this. Fear and greed are the only reason people do things, that you can motivate somebody to do something. Now, people say, well, out of the kindness of my heart. Well, that's a greed. That's a form of greed, in my opinion. You're wanting that feeling. You're wanting that. And I know that there is such a thing as pure charity and all of this, but really we can distill it down to fear and greed. And I guarantee you the environmentalists have it nailed. Okay, they need to keep their jobs. There's a greed, there's a motivation there, and the way that they do it is to scare people. Fear. So if you've got people who are in a position where the only way that they can keep their jobs and keep the money or make more is by scaring people, then you've got this perfect cycle of marketing. And if it fits in with any sort of political agenda, no matter what you think, then you're on board, baby. You've got it. You're set. And it's I mean, I can't wonder. We're getting to people who are retiring now, climatologists who have worked under this guise, this notion that the amount of CO2 that is put into the environment, which is something that, by the way, folks, plants need to grow. This notion that that's causing all of these things. And I'll submit, too, that I listen to all sides of it, and especially Alex. And of course, I mean, Alex was really big on this. Redfoot is big on talking about HAARP and how, you know, and it is not that far-fetched that we might have something that I can tell you right now that I lived in an area where, hey, ski resort, they took up C-130s, and I don't know if they were C-130s. They were, I think they were using DC-9s at one point, but they would wait for the right time for a storm system to come in, and they'd fly up and spray out all these iodine crystals and make it snow. So don't tell me that man cannot control the weather, because I've been underneath it. I've talked to the pilots, and, you know, we loved it. I mean, I thought it was great, because, you know, if most of the time they did that and in the right way, we wouldn't have to go to school the next day. We'd have tons of powder. So man can control the weather, and exactly. I think we, you know,
since '76, there's been a worldwide weather warfare treaty, because we've got the technology. We've had the technology to do that for decades.
Absolutely. So that's why you need something like that. You know, be responsible with this kind of stuff, but don't be irresponsible and fleece the American public and the worldwide. Okay, the Al Gores who are paying $30,000 a month for an electric bill, the DiCaprios who are jetting from Nice to New York to pick up environmental awards in a 24-hour period. I mean, it goes on and on and on, and it's just disgusting. I mean, it really is disgusting that you've got these industries that it's a religion that is supporting an industry, and the religion can change at any time. And who are you praising? You're praising something which is just this feeling that you get by having a green sticker, or driving a particular car, buying a particular generator, or going to work in a particular building that has a green sticker on it, and you feel good. And that's your little thing of the day. And I've seen these undercover reports where these people are going out and petitioning the most ridiculous things for the environment. And they're all fake, they're just fake. It's just made up nonsense. And
like when the main show was, you remember the End Women's Suffrage? And they got all these women.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, women have been suffraging for too long.
Yeah, they've been suffering too long. Sign this. Oh, what is this for? It's for the environment. Give me money. And it's so easy, and the women that sign this, end women's suffrage. Perfect example, Phil. I mean, that's just perfect. The mentality, and it's sad because that's the religion, and then the industry is huge. It's tens of billions of dollars, if not hundreds.
The green industry is not even cleaner. You know how like we've got those energy efficient light bulbs that if one busts in your house, you need like a hazmat guy? Mercury and this crap that, you know what I mean? Like just the sheer irony that you can't just throw away some of this green technology because it's unsafe and will get into the groundwater. But
absolutely.
But I thought,
well, you're taking away choice. You're taking away choice of, because California, they stopped selling incandescent bulbs.
Mm-hmm.
Stop selling. I'm sorry, but I don't. And until they actually started, LEDs were the only savior to this, because it's not this intermittent light that's coming in. And I think that it affects a lot of people different ways, but I just unnaturally feel bad.
Right,
I don't like
it.
I shouldn't be
the
forced to buy it. The
fluorescent bulbs that are in schools, those are bad for your well-being. They make it harder to concentrate. If you're prone to depression and anxiety, they can set it off. That's why are we using these?
Yeah, no, obviously, and the bottom line is that I don't like that light. I like the other one. Okay.
Right.
I don't like that. I like that one. Okay. And now I can't buy it. I'm the guy that's paying the electric bill, not you. Okay. If you got a problem with power, make more of it. Okay. That's what normal people do in business. If you have a demand, you make more of it. Okay. It's the same thing with water. Okay. You can be sensible about it, and I understand that we go through droughts, and okay, that's fine. But this whole thing is so overplayed, especially in California. If a guy, jack him, okay? I say jack him. If you got it, you can change the price of water. You can scale it to the point where anyone that's using over 5,000 gallons a month their bill is tenfold. And the people that can afford it will use it. And certainly there'll be a lot of money, because obviously if you're having problems with water, maybe you should be building some more reservoirs. Maybe, get a lobbying group to go to the government and say, hey, listen, we need a dam built over here. But this having to politicize it and to shame people into, and then shame people into not using a straw or you only have to use 1 square of toilet paper. It's just ridiculous. This amount of government control has to go away. And it does. It really is it's so far out of line. I went to a restaurant one time with a group of people I normally don't. There was a couple of guys that I know and they're friends of mine, but they're part of this other group, and there were about 15 of them eating at this restaurant in San Francisco. And I was late. I came in, sat down, and they were telling me what to order because you have to try this. It's gluten-free. I'm like, well, you listen, I don't have a problem with gluten.
Right. Yeah.
You do. And the chances of anyone in this restaurant having a problem with gluten are zero. Okay, zero. So
we are grain-eating animals, and we have been for tens of thousands of years.
Yeah,
that's what our stomachs are made to process gluten.
Yeah, so it's that little, oh, well, we're on this trip, and everything is just this quick little fad, and there's an industry behind it. And the problem is that you're getting into territory where other industries are being severely affected by it, like energy, okay? I mean, energy versus the environment. I say, hey, energy, those are the honest people because they're making money. They need to make sure that, hey, I say it's just the same thing as duck hunters giving the best information, which in the case of Ducks Unlimited, Ducks Unlimited provides the best environmental information for wetlands in the United States, period, and migratory bird, any sort of information that you want on migratory birds and wetlands in the United States, Ducks Unlimited. Hunters, the people that are going out and killing the birds, are the best people to tell you because they're out there doing it. And they're the same people, we're the same people that are willing to accept that, hey, we can only shoot 1 canvasback duck this year as opposed to 2. We can get 2 teal and 8 mallards, okay? And that's how the limits are set. And the limits are enforced, and most hunters abide by them. And so we don't need, because of that culture, we don't need that many game wardens. We don't need people policing us because most people understand it. You're out there, you understand what's happening. And if anything, you respect nature more than some environmentalists working in a green building in San Francisco. So their industry has nothing to do with what's happening in the real world. And I dare say that this entire model of fear and greed is going to be carried over into every possible way, and it's just going to be purely situational, and it'll be like a viral video just going off, and everybody checks it out, and you either support it or you don't. Oh, well, we tried it on, and who cares what the casualties were? Let's see what happens to the next thing that happens, whatever it might be. And dangerous stuff. So I think that these people that are doing this have this kind of crazy religious mentality. And you brought up the word terrorists. Of course, we were called terrorists before that. But they are acting in a way that is kind of a crazy religion. It's almost as if you could tell some of these people that they will get whatever they want instead of the 76 virgins or whatnot, that there will be, a pure environmental heaven that they will go to where everything is sustainable and green, right? If you go and kill all these people, you'll go to green heaven where there's no emissions and everybody is happy and dancing and multicultural and. Anyway, folks, it's been a pleasure. Have a great day. Thank you, Phil.
Thank you. Thanks to Dr. Ott for allowing us to do this today. Yeah.